Hi guys! Welcome back. My name is Bree and we are going to review what I read for the last 2 months because I have been so sick. Everybody at work has been so sick, so I just didn't want to deal with it. And I've been putting off this video and putting it off and putting it off and putting it off. And now here we are. I'm going to try to do some of it now. I'll probably have to cut in pieces because I'm at work on my lunch break, so we're gonna try to speed run this, but knowing me, that probably doesn't work because I record so much and then I have to cut it down because that's how I function in life. But we are going to talk about what I have read in January and February, and I do have my little cheat sheet here, so hopefully a lot of it will go smoothly. I read a lot of Kindle books this month, and I listened to a bunch of books this month. I also had a lot of library books. I don't have a lot of the physical copy books. What I do have, I have up on my little dashboard in my car, but we are gonna try to go for it. So without further ado, we are gonna jump right on in to January. So the first book I read in January was Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. And this was a very interesting book. I had never read anything. I'm sorry, I'm distracted by a squirrel outside. This is why this video is going to take forever because oh, there's two. There's like, so precious. Anyway, this is why nothing is quick with me ever, and why I'm gonna be late coming back from lunch from work. So if my boss sees this, I'm sorry. Where was I? Riley Sager. First book by Riley Sager. I heard really, really good things by Riley Sager. So about Riley Sager. So I wanted to see. As far as I know, it's more horror thrillery, more so than just straight up horror, which is fine. And in this one we follow our main character Maggie, who kind of is haunted by her past. Her parents, when she was really, really young, bought a house that supposedly was haunted, and when they only spent, I think, 14 days in the house, 21, 14, somewhere around there. They didn't spend long in the house, and then they fled in the night. And her father then decided to write a book about this. And in the book, they describe all these hauntings and all the horrible things that happened. And Maggie feels like she's been haunted by the book itself. Everybody thinks they know her. She doesn't want to talk about the book. She doesn't want to be associated with the book. But when her father passes, he leaves her the entire rights to all the book, all the profits, and he also leaves her the house that supposedly was haunted. It turns out that they never sold it. He kept it in the family and continued to pay for everything that the house needed. So any landscaping, any taking care of it, any housekeepers, he continued to pay for everything, even though no one was living there. And he would go back once a month to go to the house and check on things, and nobody knew. The daughter didn't know. I'm not too sure if the mother knew he did that. They are since divorced. They split up. The book ruined the relationship. So Maggie decides she's gonna go to the house and kind of unravel her past. She wants to discover, kind of bring closure to everything, and then figure out what happened, essentially, because it was a lot of what she claimed to be false memories because the book told her these certain things. So the book said, this happened. So she remembered it happening, but she wasn't sure if it was just her actual memory of it happening or if the book had influenced it. So she went to the house. She decides she's going to renovate it to sell it. So she goes there. She starts meeting the people that take care of the house, who have since passed it down to like their children. And so she starts just unraveling this mystery of what happened while she was in her very short time inside that house. And she uncovers way more than she anticipates. And it's a very fast-paced thriller. Once you get like about halfway through the book, it just kind of like rams forward. And the ending I did not see coming at all, which is beautiful. Nobody wants to know the ending of a thriller before you get there. I had suspicions, and then I was like, oh, I'm so right. And then I was like, oh, I was way off. My bad. Sorry. So I quite enjoyed that. I will be reading more of Riley Sager. In fact, did I read it this month? Yes. I read it another one by Riley Sager in February, which we'll talk about shortly. But I gave this one 3 stars because it wasn't something I'm constantly thinking about, but I did quite enjoy it. And I enjoyed it enough to want to read more from Riley Sager. So we're going to continue on that path. The second book I read, let me grab it here. Oh, look, I'm all red. Who knew? Was Nothing But Blackened Teeth by Cassandra Shaw. And this one I read for bingo, my horror bingo. It was BIPOC author, I think. What did I read this for? BIPOC author, yeah. And I didn't know it was going to be super short, but it was wicked short, and I did not enjoy this one. I gave it 2.5 stars, and I gave it 2.5 stars because I enjoyed some of the quotes in it. Some of the quotes were beautiful, and they really resonated with me, but a lot of the time I felt like this book was pretentious for the sake of being pretentious. Like, it tried too hard to be artistic, and it didn't need to be. I felt like it had really good potential, but it just did not execute it for me. So it was very forgettable in that sense. You follow this group of friends that travel to the Japanese countryside for a wedding for one of their friends in the group. The 2 females don't really like each other. It's a whole issue with, past relationships. Did they want to be together? Did they not want to be together? Typical woman drama about friends that used to be in a relationship. And it never really goes anywhere, so I'm not quite sure. But they love paranormal, and they loved hunting paranormal, investigating it. So they decide to rent a house for the wedding itself, which is rumored to be extremely haunted. The past of it, people were getting married, and one of them died or never showed up to the wedding. It's been a while, I don't remember. But to keep the house satiated, they have to sacrifice a bride every so often, and they just get buried in the house, and they're doomed to wait for their husband to come and marry them. It's not fully clear. I don't think this book felt fully realized, even though the cover in itself just suckered me in. I mean, that just beautiful. I wanted to love this, and I just didn't. Very beautifully written, overly dramatic when it did not need to be overly dramatic, unfortunately. The third book I read in January was Quicksilver by Callie Hart, and I absolutely love this. I've heard mixed things about this. I've heard that Kingfisher is his name, that Kingfisher was too mean, too brutal, too obnoxious to really enjoy. I did not think that. I thought he was sassy and charming and funny, and I totally dug him. I totally stand for Kingfisher. Me and Kingfisher, and he had the tattoos, and he was dark and broody, and just, yes, give me my dark broody man with a heart, and I am swoon. I'm in. I love a good fantasy. I love fantasy romance more than just straight up there are two people that meet, you know. More fantasy romance if I'm gonna. I gave this one 3 stars. We follow our main character Kingfisher and our main female character Sagittarius, who discovers she is an alchemist by chance. As in most fairy stories, the human world is in disarray and awful and nobody wants to live there. So they... Sorry guys, my coworkers keep coming by, I think, to torment me. I don't even remember what I was saying. Fairy world, better, but overruled by this one harsh queen. And so Sagittarius is in trouble. She gets sentenced to death because she stole something from one of the knights. And in her sentence to death, she discovers she's gonna fight. She doesn't want to go out without a fight. She's a tough chick that just takes nothing. She has a family to protect. She doesn't care. What else do I have to lose? I'm gonna die anyway. Might as well take you out with me. And she discovers that she's an alchemist who can control quicksilver, which was infused into the Fae weapons at one point. And during the Great Fae War, they were stripped of their quicksilver, and the alchemists were slaughtered, and there are hardly any left, and they just need somebody to regain their magic. And the quicksilver calls to Kingfisher when it gets awoken, and Kingfisher finds Sagittarius, takes her, and decides, you're going to be my alchemist, you're going to create my weapons for me, you're going to learn to control it, you're going to learn to infuse weapons with it, and you are going to save us. And it's just a slow burn of them finding themselves, finding their relationship, which is extremely volatile at first. They hate each other. I think she hates him way more than he hates her, as is traditional. Women are very much, don't tell me what to do, I'll do what I feel like, how dare you hold me captive, which, same, don't tell me what to do. But he does soften a little bit, and he starts to really fall for her, and they just find their way together, and it turns out that they're, you know, supposed to be together, and things evolve along the way, and it's a very nice romance. I quite enjoyed it. It's the typical, you know, enemies to lovers type of situation, but it was well worth the read. I really enjoyed it. I hope that there's a second one, and I will be picking that up. The 4th book I read was Near the Bone by Christina Henry. And this one I listened to audiobook on, and it actually was a very good read. I gave this one 3 stars. We follow our main female character, Maddie. Her name's not Maddie. And her life living with her husband, who is just this abusive, just jerk. I don't think I've hated a main character more than I hated this man. I wanted his death so just primal. I wanted him to be slaughtered. I need it. So I really can't put it any other way than I hated him. He was mean, he was volatile, he was misogynistic, he kept her down. Anytime she would even have a thought, he'd beat her. It was a lot of domestic violence. So if that's a trigger, don't read this book, because it was filled with a lot of violence, husband to wife situation. But she gets discovered by these cryptid hunters on the mountain. They're very secluded. He doesn't let her go down the mountain. Nobody knows who she is. Nobody's ever talked to her. She doesn't let her talk to strangers. He doesn't let strangers up on his mountain. He'll kill them. But these cryptid hunters show up and find her completely bruised and beaten, and she's very sunken into herself. She doesn't want to talk to them, and one of them knows something's wrong, and he recognizes her, and he can't figure out why he recognizes her, but he will not let his team go down the mountain without taking her with them, because he does not want anything bad to happen to her. And you discover on the mountain, while all that's happening, there's a cryptid on the mountain that we don't ever really get a good look at or really get an explanation as to why there's a cryptid up there. But there is, and it's tearing the animals apart and tearing the people apart as they get closer. If the cryptid sees them as a threat, it takes them, it kills them. So there is a lot of gore and blood to go along with this story. I don't know if I said I gave this one 3 stars yet or not, but I gave it 3 stars. I did enjoy it. I hated that main character, and I think that was the point, to make you feel that intense and to make you really, really want to root for our main character, Maddie. And when she finally gets the strength and gets her voice, you're like, yes, let's go, let's go. It really makes you feel something, which I quite enjoyed. I know that Christina Henry has a lot of other books. I've already picked up one more from her. It's on my TBR, but I have not read it. But I really did enjoy listening to it, and I enjoyed the flow of it. So I will be picking up and reading the other one. I believe I have Alice by her now. But I know she writes a lot of like fantasy cryptid-y type of like dark fairy tales. From what I think, I gather. I shouldn't say I know, because I don't. But I'm intrigued, and I will be reading more from her. Hello again. As you can tell from the different setting that we have going on right now, I did not, in fact, speed run my month wrap-up. So, welcome back to my horribly lit living room. We are going to finish it up here. I do have to work on getting lighting and a microphone. I know. But I'm having fun with these, so I'm going to continue to do them and get progressively better. So let's just stay together and continue in the upward direction. I do not remember where I left off, so hopefully I finished talking about the last book. So we're just going to move right along to The Haunting in the Arctic by C.J. Cook. I gave this one 3 stars. It was an interesting, I picked it because of ignore everything that I do in life. I picked it because of the cover. I'm such a cover just person. Like, I like the color. I thought it sounded cool. I've never liked the boat on it. It was really interesting to me. So I picked this one based on the cover, not knowing too much that goes into it other than a haunting, so obviously ghosts of some type go into it. But this is a multiple POV, multiple timeline story. So you follow like way in the past, like when this whaling ship was prominent in, I don't even remember what year, 1901, like the early 1900s is when you follow the first step of it. And then you also follow a group of explorers going to research the abandoned, what's the word for when they run ashore? I want to say grounded, but I know that's not it. But when they crash into the shore, and so it's abandoned in the Arctic now, in Iceland, I want to say. And this group of researchers go to explore it because they love just the history of it. And along the way, our main character also finds other people exploring, and she decides to team up with them. And the mystery kind of unravels as it goes, and both timelines are kind of seamlessly like coinciding. It was a lot more graphic than I was anticipating. As far as the older POV, the girl gets caught and sent on a whaling ship because of her dad's debts, and she gets raped a lot there, and a lot of bad things happen to her. And so that was, I didn't expect that coming into it. So that was quite a harsh wake-up call from that. But definitely it was a lot of fun watching and waiting, and the ending, while it made sense, it also didn't make sense. So I quite enjoyed the mystery of it as well. But definitely, if you like cold Arctic hauntings, it wasn't so much a haunting as I think. It had a lot to do with like mythical sirens and that kind of thing. I wouldn't really call it a haunting at all, but nevertheless, it was a pretty good book. It was a good read. I quite enjoyed it. So definitely, if that's your thing, definitely go check that out. The next book I read was Dr. Glass by Louise Worthington. And I did not like this one. I only gave it 2 stars. It's another multiple POV type of book where you follow a doctor, Dr. Glass, who wrote an article about maternal familicide. So basically understanding why mothers kill their children and trying to invoke empathy in that situation. And a lot of people didn't respond well to it, and she ends up getting a stalker who sends her threatening letters, and she just kind of continues to go about her day ignoring the letters. But then they start appearing at her work, they appear at her house, and it's her trying to figure out, you know, is it a patient of mine? Because she's a therapist. Is it a patient of mine? Is it somebody who read the article? Is it somebody that doesn't like me? Is it a colleague? So it's a lot of her trying to figure out what's going wrong. So it's a lot of her trying to figure out what's going wrong with the situation. But then the multiple POVs come into play. She has a nutritionist who is her friend, who they grew up in college together, and they work together. So you get her point of view as well, and her side story. You also get a patient's side story. But there were a lot of like POVs in there that I didn't think had to be in there. Like you have one of the nutritionist patients and her point of view and like her love life, and she wants to be fed, so her boyfriend likes it when she's bigger, so he feeds her all the time, and she goes to the nutritionist to gain more weight to please him. And that storyline kind of never goes anywhere, and I didn't think it needed to go anywhere. I didn't think there had to be more point of views other than Dr. Glass, honestly. And when the big reveal comes around about who's been writing the letters and everything, it also seemed kind of like it wrapped up too quickly. Like what happened to Dr. Glass in that situation was resolved too easily, in my opinion, and then she just handled it too well. Like, I understand that you're like a therapist, but she was just like, it's fine that I got kidnapped by this person and tortured, and not really tortured, but held captive. But it was weird, and I did not enjoy it, and I felt like it had a lot of filler that didn't need to be in there. But I'm glad I read it. I got it on the Stuff Your Kindle day, so I'm glad I read that one. The next one is absolutely one of my favorite books I have read, I think, ever, and it is Zombie Ducks by Cadence Nola. And Candace Nola, and it is a short little novella, and it is exactly what it sounds like. These little rubber ducks come back to life and help a little boy. I think he's like 8 or 9 in here, and he sorry for the loud noises, my goodness. A virus of some sort, like any other zombie virus, has invaded this small town, and it's bringing inanimate objects to life, and they are bloodthirsty, like any type of like child toy, like a lawn gnome, or a, you know, beach ball, or an inflatable tube. Like, they come to life and they devour the people in their way, and by devour, usually that means stomping them to death, just beating them mercilessly. And it's quite graphic, actually. And we basically follow the point of view of this little kid, Kane. And he doesn't really understand what's happening. He knows like all these things are coming back to life, and his mom takes him to the neighbor's house, and the neighbor is like, we gotta figure out a way to kill these things. And the little boy gets an idea about his little rubber duck army, and he's like, I bet because they're my army, I can train them and they will do my bidding. So he goes back, he gathers like the virus goo that these creatures emanate, and he like rubs the ducks in it, and the ducks grow like 10 times their normal size, and they come back to life. And he's just like, now ducks, let's, you know, save mommy, like protect us. And it's just a fun, bloody, gruesome time, and I loved every second of it. I gave it 4 stars, but my god, it deserves everything. And if you have not read it, you absolutely need to go read Zombie Ducks. It is, I will reread this at least 10 times this year alone because it is so fun. So definitely read Zombie Ducks. It's so good. And the last one I read for January was Hunted by Darcy Coates, and it is part of, I joined a book club, and that was our first book that we picked. So I gave it 4 stars, and it's like another multiple POV, not so much different timelines. I guess it all kind of takes place, I think, over a week total. And you follow the main characters. The main character, Chris, his sister has gone missing in a forest that she went on vacation for, and him and his friends go on a mission to find her in the forest. Everybody there says there's no point in looking for her. She was a hiker. She went into this woods. She's dead. People go missing all the time. It's just, you can't find them. You know, an animal has eaten her by now. Like, it's not worth it. They don't follow that advice, and they go off to go find her on their own. And they start learning about, you know, is it a cryptid? There's these warnings on the trees. They see things. They hear things. Is it a psycho killer? Is it a slasher type of book? You don't know these things until like the end, which I really enjoyed, because the entire time you're like, is it a cryptid? Is it a human? Is it an alien? What is happening here? And they are hunted by whatever this creature is, the group of friends, and it's messing with them the entire time they're in the woods. It's leaving little notes for them, it's setting up traps for them, and it just really, it's just, you know, messing with their heads, making them insane. And it gets pretty violent, it gets pretty gross, it gets dramatic, and it was a good read. And I really liked how the ending, I did not see the ending coming, even a little, when you find out what has been stalking them this entire time. I had no clue. I was like, didn't see that one coming, not even a little. And I was like, did I miss hints along the way? But I don't think I did. Even if I did, they were really well hidden, and it really kept you guessing, but like guessing, but not in a way that you'd be like, that ending doesn't make any sense. Wayne's here. That ending doesn't make any sense at all, so it was nice that it still rounded out. And along with the friends' point of views, you also get the cop who's been assigned to find the missing sister. She gets a hunch, you know, she dismisses them pretty quick, but then starts realizing, oh, a lot of people do go missing in this forest. Why? And she starts mapping things and coming to conclusions, and she starts getting a team assembled, and she's trying to figure out what's happening at the same time the kids are trying to figure it out. And then she realizes the kids have gone into the forest alone without telling anybody, not even his parents. And so now it's a race against time to get them out. So it gets pretty fast-paced towards the end. It was a very good read, very gruesome with kind of body horror-ish, which I did. I like body horror, so I quite enjoyed it. There was a pretty nasty bug
scene that did distraught a lot of people in my book club. They did not enjoy the bug scene, but that's okay. I quite enjoyed the bug scene. But definitely, this is my second Darcy Coates book, and I loved them both, so I will continue to read more Darcy Coates. I actually have another Darcy Coates up on the bookshelf, Parasite by Darcy Coates. So I'm super excited. That seems more sci-fi-y, so we shall see. And that is what I read in January. And then we'll go to February, which is a lot less books because I was super sick, so I didn't read that much. But the first book I read was The Return by Rachel Harrison, and I was let down by this book. It is so hyped up on the internet. I was like, this is gonna be so good. I'm so ready for it. It was a small book. I listened to it on audiobook, and I was let down. I did not like this book. I gave it 2.5 stars because I always feel bad when I give things lower. I have to work on that. But it just didn't make sense to me. You follow a main character whose best friend, it's a group of 4 friends, and and one of them goes on a hike in Arcadia National Park and never comes back. And it's a 2-year span. Nobody's heard from her. They have a funeral for her. They think she's officially gone, and then she pops up out of nowhere. She doesn't remember anything. She just is like, I'm good. I don't know why I don't remember anything, but let's go. And so they reunite at a hotel. They think it'd be a nice little girls trip. Let's get back together. Let's have fun. Let's just forget everything. And you follow the main character who is seeing some abnormalities in their friend that just came back. And she is like, something's off, but they don't want to talk about it. She went away a vegan, came back eating meat. Her skin's like ghostly white and like see-through, and her teeth are falling out, and her breath is rancid, and something's off about her. And the entire time you're waiting and waiting and waiting for them to confront her and ask about it, what happened. But I felt like majority of the book was them sitting and eating lunch together and discussing why they won't discuss it with her because they don't want to hurt her feelings. It felt like it took years to get to the end, and by the time I got to the end, I just didn't care what the issue was. It had such a build-up to a lackluster letdown. I was so sad because it was such a hyped up book, but now nothing happened. Nothing came of it, and I was disappointed. I was let down. So I moved right along from that to my second book, which is also the second in the series, A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. And I gave this one a 4, and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. As I said before, give me a dark, brooding fae daddy that also has a heart, and I'm sold. Swoon, just take me now. And Rysand is just everything. He's goals. And I really like the plot twist in this, that it made Tamlin kind of evil, kind of a dickish type of situation. And I quite enjoyed that because the entire book, it was just Tamlin being this awesome guy and would do anything for her, and you're like, oh, okay, I'm kind of in. And Rysand was kind of a jerk, but also really nice, and I liked him. And then it all just kind of turns on its head, and I kind of really am down for it. So we follow our main character through her journey, as we did in the first one. And she ends up hating the person she's with, Tamlin, because he will not let her out of the house anymore. He says, it is my job to protect you. You're not allowed to roam free. What if something happens to you? We are now bonded. How will it look to the others if you're just out running, if you're not listening to me? and she goes away for her week-long journey with Rysland every month that they agreed to, and she is against it. She doesn't want to, but she starts coming to terms with it, and she ends up going to Rysland's little town, and which just sounds beautiful. I want somebody to draw it because I just want to be in it. And she slowly comes around to really just wanting to be there. She feels at home there. They respect her there. And then, like everything else, you know, a big plot twist happens where, you know, oh no, a war is coming. We have to do something. You know, people are rising people from the dead. And really, this one followed much more of her inner strength, which I quite enjoyed in this one, because it was much more of a coming to terms with what happened in the first book and how she's going to get by and just become okay with herself. Now she's immortal, she has all these fae powers, she doesn't know what to do with them. So it's just about her coming into her own skin. And at the end, the big war is kind of happening, which leads you into the third one. So I'm very excited to get to the third one. So I will be reading that one. I do have them all. It just has taken me forever to get there. But I'm really hoping that nothing happens to Rise, because I will write. He is going down as one of my favorite characters ever. I love everything about him. So if something happens to him, I'm going to revolt, and that's it. That's it. I will stop reading if something bad happens to him, and that's just who I am as a person. But the next one I read was In the End, You Kill Us Both by V. Ivan. And this one I only gave 2 stars. And this one gave me very much that Netflix show. It's the end of the fucking world. It's the end of the fucking world. That it gave me very that vibe of a book. I'm not sure which one came first, but definitely there was some play, it felt like, from both of them. You follow our main character who came out of a rehab facility, who has a very troubled past, and she goes to like this halfway house type of deal and meets somebody at a party, and they fall in love with each other, and it's very toxic in like a Romeo and Juliet sort of way, but very much like Romeo and Juliet. It's very much, I can't live without you, you can't live without me. And it felt like very much like teenage angst love, like that, like the show, basically. Like they just are doing horrible things together. And it was a super slow burn, and all of a sudden, some way, there was cannibalism, which I was thrown for a loop. I still don't know where cannibalism came from. There's like a scene in the book where, you know, the main character, and I think they're non-binary because they refer to them as they, a lot, is, you know, they say to her, well, do you know any other way for me to have dealt with the situation other than to bite and take a piece of flesh off and eat it? Yes, I can think of several different ways to handle that situation, none of which coincide with what you did, but that's fine. And that's what she was totally into. She was like, they are a badass, and I am totally digging everything they're putting down. And it was just weird. It was such a weird book. I don't have anything other than it was just weird. It was Romeo and Juliet with cannibals. Hey, yo, baby, my precious special miracle child. So, I don't know. If you want Romeo and Juliet with cannibals, In the End, You Kill Us Both is your vibe. Pick it up. The next one I read was The Last Time I Lied by Riley Sager, and I gave this one 4 stars. We follow I don't even remember her name now, and I didn't write it down. But our main female character, she was at a camp back when she was like, I want to say 13, I want to say. And they called it Camp Rich Bitch because only the wealthy go there, and somehow her parents got her in there, and she was super excited to go. But on her second week there, I want to say, her 3 cabin mates, which have become her friends, have gone missing. They went out in the night and never came back. And it ruined the camp. They shut down. She accused a boy, Theo, who worked there, of hurting the girls. It ruins their life. And so then you flash forward to her life now, and she's like this big shot artist. She has a gallery opening. She's super content with her life, but in all of her pictures she paints the 3 missing girls, but then covers them, and it's her way of coping, basically. And that's the only thing she can paint is the girls, and it's never left her brain. And then at her big gallery, her old camp counselor who ran the place said, hey, we're reopening the camp. We want you to come. We want you to be a counselor there, teach art, all that fun stuff. She reluctantly agrees, goes back to camp, and tries to piece it all together. She wants to go on a hunt for the missing girls. She knows that she's never going to find them alive. She knows that they're dead, but she wants to know what happened to them. They went out, never came back. What's going on? And so it's kind of a mystery as to figuring out what happened to the missing girls. Was the camp counselors involved? They kind of lead you astray into like what you think is going to happen, and then you're questioning the entire time, was it that boy, because he's back too? Was it the owner of the lake? Was it, because the lake itself had a dark history surrounding it, so that kind of leads you to believe something's going on there. Is it haunted? Did something take them? Were they murdered? And then it all comes to a big head at when the 3 girls that she is counseling, because they have to sleep in the same cabin because there weren't enough cabins for all the counselors, so they had to share cabins with some of, I want to call them students, and that's not it, but the attendees, the little kids. When her 3 go missing the same way, they get let out of the cabin at night, and then she wakes up and they're gone. So now everyone thinks she had something to do with it. Now it's too coincidental. You've had these kids back when you were a kid go missing, and now it's happening again. No one's buying it. So it's just, it comes all together in the end, and I thought the ending was really well done. I quite enjoyed how it all played out. It was very satisfying. I will give that. It gives you a very much like feeling. Just glad that happened. So definitely another Riley Sager book that I really did enjoy. So I will be picking up more of his work because his thrillers are really good, and they do give you enough hints to what's going on so you can like play the game without fully knowing, and I quite enjoy that. The next one I read was Red Inside by Bridget Nelson, and I gave this one 4 stars. It was amazing. If you hate spiders, are into body horror and gore, this is it. This has everything. This fulfills all the check marks right then and there. You follow, it takes place like over a night. It's not even like a couple of days. It's literally, I think, a night shift in a hospital. This guy comes in and he has been working in Peru. He's I don't know the term. for people that study insects. I know it, like in my head I know it, but I can't. Whatever that is. He is out studying a spider that supposedly is nothing like any other species they've ever seen. And when he gets back to the States, he is really sick, he's in a lot of pain, and so they bring him to the hospital, and he dies there. And after he's dead, things start to change. As he's dying, he's laughing at them and vomiting on them, and he infects them with, ironically, the spider that's in him. The spider has lived in him, and now the spider is out in the hospital, and it just wreaks havoc. Everybody gets, if you get cut by it, bit by it, thrown up, I guess maybe it goes into like your eyes and your mouth and your orifices, you start to change violently. Like, they're these scary, descriptive, arachnid, humanoid creatures that are just terrifying when they're described. They're just awful and morbid and creepy, and no one's safe. Like, there's like little kids being mutilated in this book. It is rough and it is gory, but it is, I could not put it down. I had to know, are they gonna kill the spider? I have to know. How do they get out of this? And one of them figures out she got bit by a spider really little, and maybe her blood, because she doesn't change, she gets bit while running from away from the creatures, and doesn't change because it happens quick. It's like no joke. You get bit and like, I want to say like 2 minutes later you're a creature. Like, we don't play here. And that spider knows what it's doing. And she doesn't change. So they're like, it's my blood can help, So it's about saving her and making sure she doesn't get killed by something, and making sure she gets out of the hospital. And they can't get out because the military has been alerted and the CDC has been alerted, and now they are on complete lockdown. Nobody gets in, nobody gets out. If you try to leave, they kill you. You know, the standard kind of horror situation. I can't ever get out. But it was such a fun ride from start to finish. There was no break in it. It was just from the get-go, you meet the spider and you just, to the end. There is no breathing time. There is no reprieve from this creature, and that was fun. Truthfully, in that situation, I would have to say, I honestly would have to kill myself. I can't fight a spider. Little teeny tiny ones, I'm like, nope. I'm crying, I'm screaming, I'm paralyzed with fear. There is no way that a spider with that amount of intelligence and that ability to turn you, I could fight. I just couldn't do it. It's not happening. Fire. It's all gonna go. Fire. That's it. That's all I can do. But any arachnid book, I will read, because you have to know your enemy. And I want to know everything about that enemy. There's no way it's getting me. Not happening. And the last book I read was for my horror bingo as well, and it was a 5-star read that you have never read before, but you know is going to be a 5-star read. And that I have picked Tormented by my absolutely favorite author, Lee Mountford. And I knew this was going to be a 5-star read because it takes place in asylum. And I love medical horror, and I love body horror and hauntings, and this is just everything. So I did give it 5-star because it was so good. He writes so well with paranormal and just the descriptions. Like, it's gruesome without it being horrifically gruesome, and his detailings of the creatures are always fascinating, whether it be a ghost, a demon, a person that has morphed into something. They're always so descriptive, and I can just picture them so well. I think that's why I like his stuff so much, is because everything, even just the downtime when people are talking, it's never boring. And there's always a point to everything, and everything is a hint, and everything is a clue. And it's just so engaging that it's hard not to love his stuff. I've loved everything he's written so far, and I'm currently reading House of Thorns, which just came out, and it's super engaging too. And if he writes it, I'm gonna read it. That's pretty much the be-all end-all of it. But Tormented, we follow our main character, Adrian, who has been placed into this asylum. He killed his father, and he feels guilty about it, and he doesn't want to become a monster like everything else that he thinks he is. He doesn't want to become his dad, who was a monster. So he gets offered treatment in this asylum, where they said that they can cure him and make him better, and he doesn't have to hurt himself or kill himself or anything like that. He can just be better. So he accepts, he goes, and of course, it's nothing like they ever promise. It never is. And we follow his journey through the asylum and the torment. And much like this book gave me everything that the book 13 didn't, where the medical experiments were happening, but they didn't really detail them. This they do. They very much detail the experiments that are happening. He very much goes into why the experiments are happening. There is no question about like, oh, okay, sure, they were doing these medical experiments, but why? This one, you get all that. And so they're doing all these, they pump them full of like blood, but it's not really blood, and it's making them feel funny. It's making them dream, and their dreams are becoming more and more vivid, and Adrian is worried about the dreams because in his dreams he's reliving the situation that he wants to escape from over and over and over and over. And the doctors, who's also a priest, says, don't worry, it's everything, it's gonna work, it's gonna be good, you're doing so well. And there is a legit medical doctor in here, but he was disgraced because he did an experimental procedure on a patient and died, so he was disgraced by the medical community. So now he's there trying to regain his reputation, and he thinks if he can make headway with these people inside the asylum, he will get respect again. If nobody knows about the asylum, how do you get respect? But whatever. And along the way, you find out more about it being more occultish than actual medical. But at the same time you're finding that out, you're getting glimpses into what's happening with the treatment, and it's very body horror, it's very raw, it's very experimentally, it's just creepy. He details people morphing, and you can see them morphing, and it just sounds painful, and you can just feel their bodies breaking down. And it's hard to read, but I loved to read it, and it fulfilled my medical horror needs, and I just absolutely adore everything he writes. So if you like medical horror and body horror, definitely read Tormented, because it will fulfill all that for you as well. Absolutely. No question. But that brings us to the end. That's everything I've read in the last 2 months. Hopefully March is better and I am less sick and I can read more. And I'm hoping I have more 5-star and less 2-star. I had quite a bit of 2-star these last 2 months. It was kind of a letdown. I feel like when I do the stuff your Kindle thing, it never goes the way I want it to. But we'll keep trying. And so until next time, guys, keep reading, keep telling me what I should read, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.